Watching America's Forum on Newsmax TV. I'm J.D. Hayworth, joined by Newsmax TV host Ed Berliner. Ed, this story from professional basketball involves an owner, his companion, and statements behind closed doors. It's sports meets social media meets soap opera.
I think soap opera is a lot better. Start at soap opera and then kind of work your way from there,
Gotcha.
because this one's going to take on all sorts of different permutations here as we go through the next couple of weeks. Donald Sterling is the name. He does not have a sterling reputation. The owner of the NBA Los Angeles Clippers has for many years been the subject of both racist and sexist comments and actions that, up to this point, he has managed to slip any hard punishment or serious repercussions. Until this point. Sterling's a real estate mogul who has more than a few run-ins with the law over his pro and personal practices. Sued in 1996 for sexual harassment. In court several years later, testifying about occasionally paying women for sex. That same year, sued by 19 tenants of a building he owned along with the Housing Rights Center, claiming his employees refused repairs to black tenants and often threatened to evict them. He settled a lawsuit in 2009 brought by the Justice Department alleging he preferred non-Korean tenants such as blacks and Hispanics to look elsewhere. A document that quoted Sterling as saying in sworn testimony that, quote, Hispanics smoke, drink, and just hang around the building, and that, quote, black tenants smell and attract vermin, unquote. And he was embroiled in a very public feud with NBA legend Elgin Baylor, whom Sterling fired as the Clippers GM after 22 years. Baylor claims Sterling built his franchise with, in Baylor's words, a vision of a southern plantation-type structure, and accused the team owner of a pervasive and ongoing racist attitude. A jury ruled in favor of Sterling in 2011. Sterling remained an NBA owner with no action from the league on all of these cases, but his mouth has apparently shot off once too often, once too publicly, and once too insulting to everyone this time. Comments recorded by an anonymous source allegedly during a discussion with his then-girlfriend known only as V. Stiviano and obtained by the entertainment gossip website TMZ. By the way, Stiviano has several known aliases, has now claimed Sterling is not her boyfriend. Rather, she has worked for him as an archivist. What she has been archiving is currently not quite clear.
The issue is we don't have to broadcast.
I'm not broadcasting anything. I don't do anything wrong.
Nobody said you did anything wrong.
I don't do anything wrong. If we ever have any issues, it's because people call you and tell you things about me that are not true.
Why are you broadcasting?
I'm not broadcasting
Why are you
anything.
taking pictures with minorities? Why?
What's wrong with minorities? What's wrong with black people?
Nothing.
What's wrong with these
It's like
families?
talking to an enemy. There's nothing wrong with minorities. They're fabulous. Fabulous. Because you're an enemy to me.
Why?
Because you don't understand.
I don't understand what.
Nothing.
That racism still is alive?
No, but there's a culture.
What culture?
People steal certain things. Hispanics steal certain things towards blacks. Blacks steal certain things towards other groups. It's been that way historically, and it will always be that way.
Sterling's alleged comments were focused on this picture the girlfriend took with former NBA star Magic Johnson, then posted on her Instagram account. The picture was taken at Dodger Stadium recently, and Stiviano apparently took this and another picture down at Sterling's request, reportedly following this exchange.
People call you and tell you that I have black people on my Instagram, and it bothers you.
Yeah, it bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you're associating with black people. You have to?
You associate with black people.
I'm not you and you're not me. You're supposed to be a delicate white or a delicate Latina girl.
I'm a mixed girl.
Okay, well, but we
And
don't...
you're in love with me. And I'm black and Mexican, whether you like it or not,
Okay.
whether the world accepts it or not. And you're asking me to remove something that's part of me and in my bloodstream because the world thinks different of me and you're afraid of what they're going to think because of your upbringing. You want me to have hate towards black people?
I don't want you to hate. That's what people do. They turn things around. I want you to love them privately. In your whole life, every day you could be with them. Every single day of your life.
But not in public?
But why publicize it on the Instagram and why bring it to my games?
Why bring the black people to the game?
The cry being heard is for the NBA to dump Sterling as an owner immediately. But of course, nothing is that simple, especially when you consider some history. Joining us on America's Forum is former professional sports agent, attorney, and sports media consultant Joe Casale. Joe, thanks for joining us, my friend. We've talked about a lot of these issues over the years, and I guess the first one to start out with is those people who say the NBA's got to dump Sterling immediately. That just doesn't happen in the NBA, and I got a feeling that Sterling would love to have that fight.
Yes, Ed. I think people sometimes they think all of the sports are governed by the same collective bargaining agreements and policies, but there's a distinction between Major League Baseball, which has an antitrust exemption, and the NBA, which does not. And David Stern, for years, has always said whatever owners do in their private business is their private business, not because he was looking to get off the hook, but because he knew there was nothing he could do about it. And I know that we're all shocked and outraged by hearing the racist ramblings of a man, but this is not new. I mean, this is who Donald Sterling has been his entire life. The only difference is we're now hearing it on tape, and in this society, the spoken word on tape seems to carry more weight in the public opinion than depositions and court documents.
Well, you brought up a very good point on all this, Joe, because you point out David Stern. David Stern knew all about this, the former commissioner of the NBA, going back to when the Justice Department was going after Donald Sterling. He did absolutely nothing. The league did nothing. The owners didn't ask for anything. The players didn't ask for anything. So this guy has gotten away with it once before. This is a problem the NBA has known about for almost, 10 years or more?
Yes, and really they're limited in what they can do. I mean, Adam Silver is in a situation right now where under the league bylaws, he could suspend him indefinitely. He can fine him for up to $1 million for conduct detrimental to the league, but he can't take the franchise from him. That's not going to happen. And I think that what needs to happen, and I think tomorrow Adam will announce an indefinite suspension, and then you're going to have to bring in what I call the sports diplomats. I think they're going to have to bring in people whose backgrounds are more diplomatic in nature than litigious. Because if you're going to go after a guy who is a legendary litigious guy through litigation, that's exactly what he wants.
Well,
I think you're seeing some fallout now with sponsors beginning to pull away from the club. That may signal an opportunity for people to go in and suggest to him it's time to sell.
Well, Joe, and you raised this about the new commissioner Silver. It sounds to me like, yeah, he can suspend him indefinitely and go ahead and hit him with the $1 million fine, although I guess where money's concerned, Mr. Sterling might come back with his attorneys. But again, you mentioned the reality, even as we've seen the advent of social media and what appears to be, if not setups, then questionable recordings from behind closed doors, the revulsion, the public-wide revulsion at these comments and what it may do to sponsors in the final analysis may prompt some sort of change. You talked about sports diplomats. Joe, you've been in this business a long time as an agent and an attorney. When you say sports diplomats, give us a suggestion of the kind of people you're talking about here who could come in a less litigious, more conciliatory way, but have the effect of trying to move Donald Sterling out.
Someone like, and unfortunately he's no longer with us, someone like a Jerry Buss, who is very close to Donald Sterling. You try to get somebody that Sterling likes and respects, which is a small circle, and that someone that has influence with the league, someone who is not confrontational. I think one of the problems, and I think one of the mistakes that came out this morning that will allow Sterling to dig his heels in was this rumor that the league has reached out to Magic Johnson about possibly buying the Clippers. And Magic smartly shut that down because there is no way in the world that Donald Sterling is going to sell the team to Magic Johnson. There is no way in the world Donald Sterling wants anything to do with Magic Johnson because in Donald Sterling's mind, I'm sure he feels this is all Magic's fault. So, those are the kind of things, those kind of planted rumors, and you see this a lot in collective bargaining agreements, that a rumor is planted and floated to try to get the other side to react. I think in dealing with Sterling, that is the dumbest strategy you can have. I think the smart, prudent thing to do is suspend him indefinitely Because I will say one thing about guys like Sterling. They love being owners. They love sitting courtside. That means a lot. They like having the gourmand on one side and the wife on the other. They love that. That means more to them than the money.
We've seen this before, Joe, so many times we're going to unfortunately see it again. Hey, buddy, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm sure we'll talk to you again about it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
He's right. I'll tell you, Sterling is a guy who loves lawsuits. He's going to love it when the NBA comes after him on this, and he will fight this tooth and nail.
Well, let's see what Commissioner Silver does. It may end up costing a lot of people a lot of silver. Ed, we appreciate your reporting on this, and we welcome your comments on this soap opera from the NBA. Why don't you reach out to us via Twitter @Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.